Hi, Thomas. Welcome back to our next podcast. How are you today?
I'm great actually. It's getting colder here in Germany, but that's also fine. So I have enough of the hot weather over the summer. But I know you are in Sydney now with a hot summer, so it's everywhere you go in the world there will be at some spaces there will be hot, and at other spaces there will be a little bit cold. Yeah.
Yeah, so I came back. Dallas had very hot summer this time. By the time it's getting colder, I'm here in Sydney. So
Uh,
yes, while I'm sitting in my jacket, outside is I think hot. Anyway,
yeah,
yeah, no worries, no
enjoy.
worries. So, how can project manager effectively navigate the evolving project economy with shifting demographic changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. And maybe not everybody understands what the project economy is.
Hmm.
And it's a term that is invented by PMI, and it's even trademarked by PMI.
Hmm.
So, and I sat on the board of directors meeting when we decided to do that, when we found out what would be an appropriate term for the situation we are in, because we saw uh, 50 years ago somebody developed the term project management, and so we carried it along for 50 years. But if you look at the impact of project management and its derivatives, then we saw that's a much wider field. And when we talk to, let's say, business leaders and talk about project management, they may have a very narrow view on that.
Mhm.
It's the people in the machine room doing the projects,
Yeah.
but it's much wider. Your project management had impact on strategies like portfolio management, and program management went into that area. It had all the impact on leadership, and ethics. That's something. So we have a lot of things that grew around the term and the initial thoughts of project management, so that we have a wide area of things. PMOs are organizational units, and they deal with project management, but on another level than a project is doing. Project governance is something. So if you to put all that together, this term is project economy, and we as PMI we defined. We want to first continue to serve individuals as project managers or program managers with certifications and standards, but we will also look at organizations, so what they need to enable project managers and enable projects to run in a successful way.
Hmm.
And that's how we try to have a kind of I would say umbrella term, which is project economy. And in that way, according to your question, it is evolving, constantly evolving, because
Evolving, exactly.
we develop new things in project economy. We had maybe 3 years ago, PMI um, went into the construction business again, and we developed some construction certificates for project managers.
Yeah.
And now we have a whole discussion about AI. Yeah. How can AI support project management? So we understand AI can support other areas, like research, or in writing, or whatever, and also project management can benefit. And there is a very good class course by PMI, a free course, where you get an overview what PMI thinks, and what the status of AI is. But
Hmm.
it's also evolving. Once you have this course, maybe in half a year, there should be other things in there, and then it's evolving very, very much speed. So what I think, uh, it's changing also from the demography uh, kind of thing. So I'm quite old, and you're also not the youngest. So we have experienced 40 years of history. We've seen emails being introduced into the world, and But for many people who live today, which are 30 years or younger, it's a given. The situation, um, uh, as we have it with the U.S. as the dominant power on the globe, and with companies like Amazon or Google or Apple, being dominating. This was different 30 years ago.
Mm.
And demographies play a role, because if you have younger and younger people, they lack the view on history. They lack the experience. And I think, for them, it's important. It's really important to know the history of the industry, project management or whatever they are in, and to understand the dangers, why nations or why um, societies die, collapse, have problems. I read a very good book by Jared Diamond. It's called Collapse,
Mm.
and and he goes into history. There were uh, um, societies like the Maya people in what is today Mexico, like people on Easter Island, where blooming societies were, and then they died off for some reason. And he's looking into these things, and tries to find some root causes. And if you find these root causes, if you believe in them, then you can look at today. You know, what what is project economy helping us to survive as a society on a global level? Or do we have societies on a local level that go down a little bit, or others go up? But there is life is, this exchange of ups and downs, and it's more or less a cyclic thing. Things go well, things go bad. And to the questions, how can project managers effectively navigate the evolving project economy with the
Mm.
shifting demographic changes, is learn about the history, and understand what can come, and learn, keep learning. It's nothing that you did once in university. You had 6 semesters of something and a bachelor or a master's degree, and then you're done. No, 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 no. Even in my age, I keep learning and reading. So I'm trying to read 20 or 30 books a year. And so that's why I came to the Jared Diamond book, about the collapse of societies. And this is something, I think it's important to uh, leave your narrow field of expertise. And I understand if you are now new in industry and you try to learn a programming language and try to become a perfect guy in that, nevertheless, it's very important to widen up your scope, and to become more knowledgeable about a range of things, not only the focus you had. In my story, when I started, I was a programmer, what we say programmer, and I was quickly, 5 6 years, becoming a very good expert in one programming language. I played around; it was fun. The programming language was PL1 by IBM,
Oh, wow.
and maybe nobody today knows what it is, but I felt very comfortable and good. I was an expert. I was asked by others, and this is a nice thing. But it was just a period in my life. It's not my life that I am a good programmer. And I eventually, well, after 14 years, I left programming altogether. That's no longer what I have been doing or what I was interested in, because I became much more interested in project management.
Mm.
And I saw in my life, I entered the profession in 1988, and I saw, I was really privileged to see in the last 40 years the profession extend into what is now called project economy.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, a lot has changed in last, I mean, let's say 20, 30 years. And the email introduction, and then we got telephone system, which from the landline to the phone, which
Yeah.
Nokia's phone,
Yeah.
and to the what we have at the moment. So things are changing, evolving all the time. So as the project managers, and in anybody who's doing, keep learning what is coming, what's about to happen, and also looking at the past, as you mentioned about the big collapse. Collapse is talking about the history, what happened at the time. And sometimes people say, why are we wasting time to learn about history? Actually, you correct by saying that, the life goes up and down. To me,
Yeah.
it's a wave. We have sometimes going up and then going down, 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 and suddenly going up, up, up. So we need to recognize where are we on the wave. First, okay,
Yeah.
are we on top? So that means we're going to go down. So be ready with
Yeah.
that. And when we're going down, you realize that, okay, you know what, we're going down, but we know it's not end. We're going to go up. And how to get up, that's where the what is new economy, new technology, new terminology, like
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, chat GPT, all these new things happening around the world can definitely add value to the job you're doing as a project manager, program managers.
Yeah. And one way to learn about history, is reading book, and another way is uh, to get your one or two or three mentors, who have lived through the times. And then in former times, when we were, let's say, 10,000 years ago, we sat around a campfire, and the elders talked about the past, uh, and that's how we preserved knowledge, and that's how we preserved our survival, because the elders had some good stories to tell, and they became maybe habits of the group, of the tribe, and then they survived.
Mm,
And those who did not learn from the past, maybe their societies collapsed.
exactly. And you probably not realizing, but I have seen you in the movies, Jurassic Park, where you got this, DNA from the mosquito, and made this dinosaur. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember the movie.
So
Though,
you're
though
resembling that professor, that person in that movie.
yeah, yeah.
All right, moving on. My next question is, how can project managers address the challenges we're going to see, or posed by the climate change happening around the world?
Yeah. Well, talking about movies, we have a lot of catastrophe movies, like Twister, and them talking about climate change, and that's happening. And if you look at sometimes the news, they look like movies. There's the typhoons in the Asian area, or
Hmm,
hurricanes. We all remember Katrina, and climate change is here for some years, and it's widening, and it's getting more serious. So, as a project manager, how do you deal with the challenges posed? So, first of all, um, you have to understand where climate change is affecting your project, and it's affecting maybe the context of your project. So if you look only at your project, and you avoid looking at the environment, you are in danger, because you are not really looking at what is going on and what is influencing your project. So if you're doing the same project in two different places on the world, and the one is more challenged by climate change, the other is more safe, you better look at the challenge side a little bit more on the outside, what's happening. So what can be happening? First of all, climate change, as we are affected as humans, it is your stakeholders' problem. So if your team, let's say, they live in a challenging environment where you have floodings in the city or storms coming in, you better, help your team feel safe, because they will rely on you, that you enable them, to work from home, or if their families are suffering, that they have the time and the resources to help their family.
mhm,
There are a lot of things. So a good thing, if you have a own team, that you are aware how they are standing, how their families are going, if they have some other problems, so that you deal with them. It's much more important in these challenging environments. You cannot really say, okay, here's my project and here is your life. And because if their life is challenged, then the mind will go in other ways. I just had yesterday the point, I have a new member on the team, and he is going to a funeral this week, and so I was just asking questions like I always do in WhatsApp, and he felt pressured, by that, because he was in a mental mood anyhow, more thoughtful, more thinking about life and death and all these things, and then he felt pressured by my statements, by my questions, and and then some kind of conflict arose, and you have to deal with that, and have to be very sensible what's going on, and why these guys are there. And then climate change, humans, people, it's one aspect. The other aspect is locations, where your project is happening. And if you're in a construction business and these people live outside and they are exposed to sun and to water and everything, your health, you have to take care about their health. And no wonder it's a knowledge area in the construction business that you take care about health and safety. It's not so much a deal in software business where you have maybe remote teams living everywhere, but in projects where you have physical activities, you have to make sure that the people are safe. And I remember a project of the year 20 years ago by PMI, and it was about building a mine in Mozambique, in Africa. And they were very proud. They presented the KPIs of the project, and one core KPI is how many injuries do we have among our workforce? And there were about 10,000 people on the workforce in that plant, and they're very proud that they had no casualties, no dead people. But okay, you cannot avoid really as the accidents, if you are in a physical environment. So that's one thing. Project managers have to deal with the locations. Are they dangerous? And have to make sure not only that the people are wearing hard hats and good shoes, but it's more. It is more as a focus. And then there's projects regardless of the location. So what is very much impacted by climate change are the supply chains.
Yeah.
The one thing, are you able to travel as humans? Are you able to change? But more important, what are the goods you need for your project? The materials or whatever. What are they doing? And now, what can you, the project manager, tell you what I do? I've subscribed to a weekly newsletter, which is called Maritime Executive Newsletter. And every week I get maybe 10, 15 articles which are interesting about sea freight or naval things, And it gives me some insights of what's happening in the supply chains. If there's a freighter going down, if there is a canal blocked or whatever. You see these headlines, and these are nice stories, and they affect us all, because most of the goods shipped around the globe, are over sea freight, I think 80-90%. And if something happens there, you better be aware of it. So they are planning to have a parallel canal to the Panama Canal through the isthmus in Americas, and the Russians and Chinese are starting to use the northern route, because it's getting more and more ice free with climate change. So there's a lot of things going on in this environment. And then what can you do? The normal answer for project managers is do risk management. Identify those risks, and do not only talk about your topic, about your project. Risks in the context, in the environment, are maybe even more important. And then what we tend to do is say, okay, this is a risk, okay, but I cannot do anything about it. Oh, you can, because you make yourself more resilient. You can introduce redundant systems and modular systems, and you can make sure that you are aware what's going on and that you can react. There are a lot of things how you can set up your project in for the context you are there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, awareness is very important, and you correctly mentioned, being aware of what is happening around the world by subscribing to the newsletters or the things, and
Yeah.
reading, LinkedIn posts, or there are many things that are happening. So, I mean, I will give one example here. In 2013, I went to Dubai, my first PgMP program in Dubai, and I noticed that two, three people were not there in the class. And I asked what happened. He said, Dharam, you didn't see the last night we had a heavy rain? So I said, yeah, I mean, that's normal to me. But he said, the most of the roads are flooded. What do you mean? It was not too heavy, but no, because they did have the sewer system, the water, like storm water system at all. And because when the city was built, they know there's no rain at all. Why to worry about the water system? And yes, that's a, you need to see the, what do you say, cost benefit analysis,
Yeah.
by spending money now, let's deal with it when the time comes. Of course, you have to be aware of that as well. So yeah, being aware of what is happening, that can give you perspective about the risk management. And I think, you can be more ready, and as you mentioned, being resilient, and what are the what if scenario, you've done the what if scenario, if this happened, this we can do, and so. So I think it's very interesting, and people in the construction industry, or the people who are doing, the project manager who really like the mining, gas, oil, or people working outside, they have to be, looking around. The sun is getting more and more hot. Like we are getting more and more hot summers. So what to do in that situation? As
Yeah.
a project manager, you have some deadlines, commitment. At the same time, you need to look after the people. You can't just expect them to work in the 50-degree temperature, and you getting people sick, and getting impact to their lives as well.
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, what else we can do? Anyway, good. Thank you. It's good share. How can project manager adapt to rapidly changing technology, particularly in the context of adaptation?
Mm. Well, we touched a bit on changes in environment, and AI is the current, I would even say, hype. It's in the face. There are a lot of things coming up, and there is no mainstream yet. And it will become more interesting over time. It will develop and evolve. So you have no chance then to dive in. And as I said before, PMI is offering a good free course where you even get a certificate after that you can be proud of. and but you get an overview, not only about what AI and GPT and large language models are, but also you will see some tools for specific areas in the project management environment. And there are many more that what they produce. So I was running into a question in projectmanagement.com discussion board, about do we have anything, about procurement, negotiations of contract, and so on. And there were not much answers, but then I just looked for it, and actually there are a lot of AI tools already in place to help you with negotiations. And that's an interesting topic, because negotiations is something there is if two humans negotiate, there is a lot of emotions in there, and tensions, and if you think there's a human and there is an AI, emotions go away. You just negotiate over facts or interpretations of facts and so on, and nobody is really excited if we have two AIs negotiating. They will come up to a solution, and to an agreement, and if it's beneficial for both sides somehow. And that's what they do. So they have these AIs. It's maybe not so important to have one negotiations, but if you have in a project 20 or 100 contractors, and you negotiate their contracts, and you include, let's say, their observed performance on your project, and have some other new contracts considered with them, then the AI can really put all this information and data into consideration and negotiate on a better way. And the first thing. The second thing is you don't need those negotiators so much. So being at IBM, and we had these big contracts, outsourcing contracts with 2-digit or 3-digit millions of dollars revenue worth, then we had professional negotiators, and they have a global certification, and there are not many of them, but they are called global deal makers. These guys who have not only the training to be good negotiators, but all the experience and the track record. Are you making good deals for IBM? And there are only, I don't know, 30, 40 people on the globe doing that, but that's why IBM is quite good in doing in doing great deals. So this is one example of where AI can probably help, and probably IBM is already using that. They also announced that they will no longer hire certain professions because they think these professions will be replaced by AI in the near future. So they don't hire people in to go into that profession, but they will rely on existing staff. So they will not lay off them, but they will more and more rely on automating the tasks and giving these tasks to AI. And there will be other professions who grow, because you have to maintain the AI environment. So advice to project managers: be an early adopter, be interested, open up your mind. And that's the advice I gave you for the last question. And for this, I give it at all. Open up your mind and the range of things you are looking at, and you will find that these diverse views, will inseminate each other, because in this area you find something that's interesting for the other area, and actually that's about creativity, combining things that are not yet combined. If you do that, then you invent something, and every new thing comes out of combining unconnected elements, and that's something you should do that. And the second thing is develop your resilience again, because we are in that flywheel of life. It's go up and down. We talked about that, and you will enjoy the ride if you are resilient, but you will maybe be very excited if you are not resilient, and you will have fear and maybe excitement exchanging. But if you want to be safe, mentally safe and physically safe, you have to build your wisdom and your resilience.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people think that why I'm always unlucky and he's always lucky is because the other person, yes, lucky and unlucky, that's one thing. But other person may be more visible, keeping an eye on things, what is happening, and before things happen, you take the next step, and yes, people grow, and some people just stay what they were doing as 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because they never thought they can come out of that. So keep an eye on the technology change, and I know currently, and I think in a very good place we are in. The things are changing very, very, very rapidly. And the drawback is, if we are not paying attention to that, we will be left behind. So keep an eye on what things are happening.
Exactly. Well, I just read yesterday. I read a quote by Charlie Munger. He's 98 years old, and Charlie Munger is a boyfriend of a boy time friend of Warren Buffett. This It's a guy who has a lot of money.
Mm.
And also Charlie Munger has a lot of money because they are friends, they are intimidating each other. And he said, I lived through the Great Depression in the 1920s in the US,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if I hear people now say we have hard times, I only can shake my head. Hard times were in the the depression when we have 25% of unemployment and people starving and whatever. And what we have now is paradise compared to that. Yeah? Even if people are suffering and dying and whatever, that again feeding to this argument. Learn about history, get a mentor, talk with elder people, and read books about history, so that you have a perspective on the current life, and this perspective helps you become more wise and become more resilient.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you think about, yes, if you're in the war zone, if you're in the Russia or Israel or Ukraine or some Gaza, you know what they're going through, and you
Yeah,
still say that my life is not good enough.
yeah, yeah,
Then yeah, you have to think. Yeah, it's all about perspective, and
yeah,
perspective come when you open up your eyes and learn from history, and
yeah.
yeah, so that's what it is. Know from the history. All right. How is globalization impacting project management, especially regarding remote work and cultural consideration?
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about climate change and
Yeah.
AI, and these are all global phenomenon, and these are impacting project management. And
Okay.
the answers we gave so far was, become more resilient, open up your mind, and see a lot of perspective, learn from the past, because it helps you to survive in the present. So talking about remote work and cultural considerations in this question, let's talk about culture. Because culture is something that is not just coming up now, but and I was very happy to be able to visit 100 countries and see these cultures, and in a working environment, not only as a tourist.
Mm,
And you really can learn so much from other cultures, because they have other value systems and they have other habits and other food, whatever you like. And again, here you open up your range and listen what's going to happen. So be interested in cultures, and the first way is to travel and to work with and to talk with these people. Be interested. I'm now in the process for some months to read about the difference of Western culture as we experience in Western Europe and in the US, in Japan, and Chinese culture. And there are vast differences, and as you learn about that, you understand a lot more of the consequences of behaviors of the Chinese and the US, and it's very interesting to go into that. Overall, I can only recommend to make yourself knowledgeable about different cultures. And I was running projects in other cultures from 2002. And what I did in these projects was always because we had a new team coming from local people, coming from German people, coming from other people, and then we always did a day of a cultural workshop in the beginning, so that we made every team member aware of there are cultural differences, and they are not bad, but
mm,
they we can leverage those, to make sure that we have a very good team uh, capability. If you only have Germans on one team, you can
mm,
maybe do some good things. But if this team is enriched by, let's say, Indians and Japanese and everything, then that's a good thing. I had another experience. I helped an Indian guy from Mumbai, and he was never out of India, and
mm,
I helped him get a job in Germany. And the rest, though I'm a mentor of him, and though we are talking every week. And so I asked him in the last meeting the question, okay, have you looked at German culture? Yeah, what is different to Indian culture? Oh, no. So, but he was, as I asked him that, he was immediately aware that he's going to Germany on the 1st of December, and never read about what the Germans think and what their values are. And, that you like to be punctual. We like to be people respectful and this kind of stuff. And I once, had an Indian guy coming to Germany, helping in a project, and then we went into the canteen, eating lunch, and she used her fingers to eat the rice bowl, and I said, yeah, that's not what, and the looks came around, and
Yeah.
uh, this group of Indians, who sent then people to Germany, they created a day of learning German culture, learn how to eat, learn how to use the bus, learn how to banking. There are a lot of things to learn. And if you don't prepare your people in the project,
Yeah.
you are suffering later.
Oh yeah, very important. Actually, very good point. Because especially now we're working with multicultural environment, and the people
Yeah,
coming from all kind of places. Some places, that's the U.S., Canada, UK, I mean Western culture, but there are people coming from African countries, or maybe from South American countries,
yeah,
where
yeah,
their
yeah,
the living style and learning style and their behavior all different. So we need to
yeah,
appreciate that. First of all, we need to
yeah,
appreciate that nobody's same and learn from each other. And how can we, find the best part of everybody and make a best team out of that?
yeah. And let me make a comment on that, because it comes to my mind that if we have an audience dominantly from the US or Western Europe, I think there is a cultural uh, way of looking at us, and it's very much individualistic. So we think,
Yeah,
and it's rational. So I think, therefore I am. That's our thing. We
yeah,
are very focused on ourselves, and let me assure you that is not the case for the majority of humans on the world. If you talked about Africa, in Africa the mindset is Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is a philosophical thinking, and the core sentence is, I am because you are.
oh yeah,
So you know they define themselves as the product of the environment, of the community they're part of. And then you look at all these, let's say, Asian cultures or Middle East cultures, they are very, very much focused on family, on this environment. So they define themselves as part of the family, not so much as individual. And so this is something that I have seen a lot of Western Europeans and US guys struggle with. If they come to countries like Japan, if they come to countries like China, they
mm,
just don't get it,
mm,
and because they are so ingrained in the view of I'm the individual freedom, free will, and all this stuff, and that's really not the main concern of other people. And you have to understand that intercultural gap you are going into there.
yeah. No, very well said. Um, do we have time for another question?
Yeah.
Okay. What strategies can project managers employ to deal with the geopolitical and global trade issues?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, again, sense what's going on.
Mm,
Don't block all these wars and whatever, but don't get to be involved so much personally, emotionally. You know, sense and see what's happening so that you are knowledgeable. Stay rational about that. And I would also say, don't take sides. If you're taking a side, you are prone to the propaganda of the other side or of this side, and then propaganda tends to make you more emotional about things. So there is always a third side or a fourth side, because we talk about perspectives, and and understand, you never see all facts, regardless how much you yourself. I had a I saw a presentation 2 weeks ago, and one of about biases, a very good presentation for our chapter, and one of the things he said, okay, we as humans, we have maybe 11 million data points coming into us every second.
Wow. Okay.
And maybe we to our consciousness, 40 to 50 come, from the 11 million. So what's going on with the other 10 million something, and these are, and the argument was, these are maybe handled by our biases, by our automatic reactions in the brain, but also in the body. If I do that, now I'm conscious about that, I'm poking my hand, but probably you are not conscious about what's really, how you're sitting and how, yeah, these are a lot of data points coming in. And if you imagine only 40 to 50 per second can be handled by your consciousness, and you would think that's already a lot, and so you smell something, you taste something, you hear something, and all these senses are going on. And from these conscious facts you grasp, only a part of that is being handled by your rational brain, by your logic, that you understand it and try to make conclusions. Most of that was conscious to you. You say, okay, I understand that's going on, and I see it, but I don't care about it. So the point is here really to understand there is no such thing as, in my view, as data-driven decision making.
Yeah.
You cannot really consider all facts, because all facts are not available to you. It's only available to you what your consciousness opens up and gets you in, and then you might consider it, but still that's only a tiny bit of what's really going on. And that's the same with the geopolitical and global trade issues you were asking, But global trade issues, I already said, global trade is going, most of that is going over the seas. So, and that's the reason why I subscribe to that newsletter. You get an email, and you can drill down, and you can easily, maybe it eats up 2 or 3 or 5 minutes every week, but it's interesting information. It's relating to global trade for sure. Geopolitical, you have to make sure that you don't follow every of these let's say hypes going on. Babies beheaded. How embarrassing that was in the end. Because it's a no thing. So don't be emotionalized by these news, but that's what they are supposed to.
I mean, you should not get involved, emotionally, but yes, at the same time, being aware of this, what's happening, and what can be potential impact to you and your project now or in future, because we have seen, because of COVID, remember the COVID, and that and the impact of that was, supply chain problem disrupted altogether, the price going up.
Sure.
And if we were aware of this kind of thing is coming, we could have been more prepared. Some organization could have known, okay, let's buy a lot of things in advance because this is about to happen. And that can happen. I mean, that can be based on the trend analysis or the past, what happened in the past. If something happened in future, let's say COVID, and somebody, okay, let's see what happened during the COVID time and what happened after the COVID time. Can we learn something out of that? So being aware is very, very important. And on today's topic, yes, how can we be more aware, more visible, and more resilient, responsive to the situation or about to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Thomas, thank you very much for your contribution or your knowledge share. It's a very, very honor to have all this knowledge coming out from you, extracting out from you. I know it's a long driven process for me to take every bit out of you, and we can store it for future generation.
Thanks for enabling these discussions. Very interesting all the time, because if you look at different questions about the same topic. It's about project management, how to make things happen, but it's all about people. So how do we deal with people? And today we talked about the project economy, and I hope the audience has a better view of what it is, We talked about how to cope on a global level with all these problems coming to the project economy in our lives. And I also hope I could give some let's say, intuition to what to do. And thanks also for keeping the time, because I'm a little bit limited today.
No, that's perfectly okay. Thank you very much once again, Thomas, to you. And it is great. And I will, we'll see you very soon with the new topics. And guys, please keep watching these videos. Very, very informative. Like Thomas and Reinhard, and I have more people coming, joining this the group. It's a learning is coming from everywhere. They keep learning from these folks. So I'm fortunate enough to bring them on the same platform. So till now, till next time, keep enjoying and keep learning. All right, take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.